Hi, I'm Joel Bloom, president of New Jersey Institute of Technology. At NJIT, we believe that not only our students, but all citizens need to be informed about the issues facing higher education. As New Jersey's Science and Technology University, NJIT is proud to support the important programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Barnabas Health, Life is Better Healthy, Oscar Health Insurance, New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation, United Airlines, Kessler Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities, TD Bank, and by NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No. People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
That's a good question. High five.
Main Street, NJEA, that's the New Jersey Education Association. Hi, I'm Steve Adubato coming to you from the Convention Center here in Atlantic City. The NJEA Convention, thousands of educators, public school teachers from across the state coming here once again to learn in workshops and seminars, to learn from each other, their colleagues. There are speeches, seminars, there's collaboration going on. We talk to all sorts of educational leaders. The Teacher of the Year you'll meet in just a moment. All sorts of great educational innovation going on here at the 2015 NJEA Convention. It's a half hour of public television that you don't want to miss. One of the plenary speakers is with us, Jose Luis Vilson. He is an educator and author of a fascinating book. It is called This Is Not a Test, a new narrative on race, class, and the future of education. The focus of this book, talk to us about it.
It's about the idea that a teacher stays in the classroom and looking at all the situations that are going on with education reform, being able to speak out from the classroom and talking about all the ideas that have to do with race and education within our public school system.
What is the connection between race and education in public schools?
I think more than anything, we need to get a good look at how we talk about cultural competence, especially as we move into the 21st century. With more and more of our students being of color, we need to be able to be more culturally competent in order to be professionally competent in the things that we do every day.
Let's break that down a little bit. By the way, here at the convention, the NJEA Convention, much of the focus is on professional development, much of the focus, and there are literally thousands and thousands of public school educators here. They're trying to get information, valuable information as to how they can become better teachers. So if I ask you for a practical example, Jose, in terms of what it means to be culturally competent and how educators are being helped in that regard, break it down for us.
So for example, you may have a lesson on percents, and a lot of our English language learners know how to speak Spanish. So if you get to talk to them about percent in terms of centavo, which for a lot of our kids means cents, that means you're able to connect what a penny is to what a percent is. So percent out of 100, and they're able to make that connection immediately. So in other words, we're able to get into their cultures and use a lot of the tools that their cultures already have in order to make ourselves better as teachers. So that's really what a lot of the cultural competence is getting to know the kids and really getting an understanding of the tools that they already have with them in order to bring that into the classroom instead of just saying, we don't want your culture, we're bringing in the culture to make sure that they become better students in our country.
Why did you get into education, personally and professionally?
I got into education because I love the kids. I found myself needing to pass along the opportunities and blessings that I've gotten as a Syracuse University grad, as a City College grad. I was able to get all these opportunities that I said, what if my kids were able to have the same thing? So I went into a neighborhood that was impoverished, a lot like mine, and said, we need to do this work.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in I grew up in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. I live in Harlem now, and I teach in Washington Heights, New York City.
Connection to urban kids matters to you personally and professionally?
I think all kids, but specifically urban kids, because that's the way I grew up, right? So I'm able to bless my students with a lot of the knowledge that I was able to take on, and now I'm able to pass it on to future generations. And I've had 1,000 students now that I can say have been mine.
Talk about some of the challenges the young men and women that you work with every day in the classroom face.
I think number one, thinking about healthy meals and breakfast and being able to take on actually good, healthy things for themselves. Their environments that they grow up in are not always very healthy as well. They're listening to a lot of different things, and they have a lot of different influences around them. Their parents are struggling just to make ends meet. You have two parents working at the same time, some of them working till 12 o'clock midnight, and they're coming in sleepy, they're coming in drowsy, but because they make it into my classroom, I'm so blessed to say, you know what, we did it. We're here, and now we're going to learn something.
Flip it. The other end, some of the challenges that urban educators face, be it in Harlem or in Newark or Jersey City, Camden, Patterson, in urban areas in general.
They're more likely to see their schools shut down, for example. They're more likely to have the education reforms that we don't like happen to the urban educators. So you can have a teacher who's working really, really hard, but because their test scores are lower, there's a higher chance that they'll get fired because they're in a certain section of New Jersey than, let's say, if they were in Princeton or Montclair, for example. These are places that are already protected because the parents invest in the schools, versus in Camden and Newark, there isn't always as much investment in those schools. So until then, we need to find ways to help urban educators be protected and find ways to stay in the profession in meaningful ways.
We are honored to be joined by Chelsea Collins, the 2015-2016 New Jersey State Teacher of the Year. How does that sound to you?
Sounds incredible. It's quite an honor.
You're not only the Teacher of the Year, are you actually the youngest Teacher of the Year?
I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm completely honored to have this role at this point in my career. So.
You're only 29?
Yes, I'm 29.
Talk about where you teach.
I teach at Woodstown Middle School. It's in Salem County, and I teach 6th grade language arts. I got into teaching, originally I was actually in business. Ironically, I worked in Atlantic City, here where we are today, and my niece was diagnosed with leukemia. I did some soul searching, and I ended up going into teaching.
Talk about a convention like this. I mean, you are the Teacher of the Year. You're one of the younger educators at this convention. What responsibility do you feel with that moniker, with that title, and the fact that a lot of people are looking at you and what you do and how you do it?
It's an honor to have this title at this stage in my career, because I feel like I can represent the passion that young educators have for this profession, and hopefully I can serve as a mentor and a model for how we can collaborate among various ages and levels of experience to better education and for our students.
What do you love most about teaching?
My kids. Hands down is just being in the classroom with my students and building lifelong readers, because I know that when they leave my classroom at the end of the day, if I've instilled a love for reading in that child, that they're still continuing to learn outside my classroom doors, and that's just so exciting. We're here with the president of the NJEA, Wendell Steinhauer. Wendell, so much going on as we finish up 2015 going into 2016. I know one of the topics you want to talk about, overtesting. The president recently talked about this, President Obama, which I was surprised at. Were you?
Well, President Obama has really been a hands-off in the Department of Ed, the U.S. Department of Ed, and Secretary Arne Duncan was kind of running the show there for a while, I believe. With Secretary Duncan's departure and the end of President Obama's term coming, I think the president wants to have a better legacy on education rather than race to the top.
Okay, so talk about that. Why would the president get involved in testing, over-testing, as he talked about it? Scale back. I mean, why is that a top federal issue?
I think they've seen the culmination of Common Core, which everybody should have standards, but it's gone nuclear now, and it's now into the testing area with this park for New Jersey, a park consortium that has seen 23 states now drop down to, I believe, 7.
Put that in perspective. I don't want to assume that everyone understands the park acronyms, even though there's been a lot of publicity about it. Put the park issue in context with Common Core, the state and the federal testing, education issues?
Right. The Common Core is the standards, and you're absolutely right to slice and dice it a little bit. The PARC is the assessment, or the test, the standardized test that is to be measuring whether the standards have been met and students understand that those standards and curriculum have been instituted. What I think the country is now seeing is this over-testing and using testing applied to everything from teacher evaluations to school labeling and so on. I think they're sick of it. I think parents are reacting because they see their kids coming home with drill, drill, drill on the test preparation, and they're asking, when are you actually doing some learning rather than just gearing to the test?
Now, let me just play devil's advocate here for a second. Why is learning to take a test not learning?
You're learning to be able to pass a test rather than having the knowledge of what's going to happen further in life. And you've seen with how the technology has moved and so on. We are in schools, I think we would need to get a good foundation for students because they need to understand the love of learning continues after they graduate. And I think what you're seeing now is kids that are dreading coming to school because all they had to do is learn these facts, make sure you understand, and know how to move the cursor and all that on the test. I think the joy of learning has been lost, not only in the students, but also in the teachers. Teachers are tired of being top down, but this has to be done, so we look well on it to the public. You look well to the public by creating educated citizens to come out and further our society.
Where do you think we are as we're going into 2016? Where do you think we are on this, Wendell, in terms of potential changes to the standardized testing paradigm in the state?
I think the pendulum is swinging back. Since 2001, with No Child Left Behind, they've added 17 tests as a start, but they're a student going through K-12 would go through 112 different testing scenarios before the normal thing that teachers do to test on quizzes and so on. So I think what this we've lost a whole generation. Think about it, from 2001 to 2015, we have lost a K-12 on testing, and we need to get back. And I think that's what you're seeing, this pendulum swing back to getting down to doing the right thing rather than just test, test, test.
Dave Yastrzemski, educator and member of the NJEA Professional Development Committee. Tell us what that means, Dave.
Professional development has taken on so many new meanings in the past several years. Years ago, it was this very direct trainer-recipient type of model. Today, professional learning embodies collaboration, more communication, really using each other and our energies to bring the best opportunities and the best education to the students of New Jersey.
Dave, a convention like this, you have literally thousands of educators here at the convention. What do you think most of them are looking for when it comes to professional development?
It's a great question because the thing that this convention provides is opportunities for the novice teacher right up to the veteran educator. Even our educators who may not be classroom teachers, our secretaries, our janitors, our maintenance personnel, our bus drivers have workshops available on how to better communicate with parents, better communicate with students, how to work in emergency situations in our schools, which we understand is of such vital importance these days. So really, any single educator in the state will be able to come to this convention and find something which is going to help improve his or her practice and profession.
One of the great things about the NJEA convention is our friends at Classroom Close-Up are here. Wanda, let me ask you, I see a bunch of your colleagues, these teachers, educators who are standing here very proudly with these Emmys. Classroom Close-Up, 22 years?
23 years. 23 years.
Okay, how many Emmys?
14 Emmys.
You knew that, exactly. Now, what's the deal? Look at this. They're preening with these Emmys. What are these Emmys about?
Well, the last Emmy we got was for the Teacher of the Year, and it's funny because these are Teachers of the Year, and they're amazing teachers, and we spend the day with them in their classroom, and we come out with a 5-minute story, and then you're friends with them for life, right?
Can I let them introduce themselves? I know you guys. Tell everyone who you are.
Danielle Kovach.
I interviewed you.
Yes, you did.
Kathy Assini.
I know you.
Susan Barry, Gloucester County.
Diane Cummins. Gloucester County, back from 2004, way back.
Okay, back in the day. So what does it mean to be standing here with these Emmys? What does it mean to you?
It's an honor just to be nominated.
Have you been practicing that?
In the mirror every day. No, you know what's really cool about this is that teachers bring life and excitement to classrooms every day. And to be able to, for the NJEA and Classroom Close-Up to highlight it in an Emmy really brings out what really happens in our classrooms. So this is really awesome. And it's an honor to be holding this because I've always dreamt of holding one.
It's really great. And Wanda was just talking about the fact that it is 23 years that Classroom Close-Up has been on the air. We're honored to have them as part of the public broadcasting family. What does Classroom Close-Up mean to educators, public school educators in this state?
It's a chance to get a glimpse into other people's classrooms. Unfortunately, you know, we're doing our work every day in our classroom, and sometimes in our own halls we get to see, but Classroom Close-Up takes us to other classrooms, other districts, and just to see how it works out there in the big world.
What kind of feedback do you get when you're on Classroom Close-Up from others?
It's exciting for other people to see teachers on the airwaves out there for everyone to see. So that's the kind of feedback is, wow, you know, you're one of those people. It's great.
I noticed that teachers who say they're nervous, don't put me on the air, all of a sudden they're on Classroom Close-Up. That melts away quickly.
Well, I think it melts away quickly because of the fact that they're in their own environment. They're with their kids, where they're doing what they do every day, you know, working hard for the public schools of New Jersey and for the kids, and that's ultimately why you're in your comfort zone.
You know what's so interesting is, in the public broadcasting community across the nation, there aren't many series like Classroom Close-Up. There aren't many series that honor, that feature, that profile public school educators. What would you say to all of your colleagues out there who, I mean, there are literally thousands of public school educators who will never be on Classroom Close-Up just because there's not enough time on the air and there are so many great teachers out there. What would you say to all of them out there who every day work on behalf of all of our children who are in the public schools?
Keep doing what you're doing, do what you love, keep working for your students, for the profession. Classroom Close-Up is an awesome representation of exactly what New Jersey has to offer with our public schools, and our teachers show it every single day, so keep doing what you're doing.
You're never going to let that Emmy go, are you?
I'm not. I'm putting it in my bag and I'm running with it.
Congratulations to all of you. Here at the NJEA 2015 Convention in Atlantic City with Ed Richardson, Executive Director of the NJEA. Ed, real quick, this convention, significant in a lot of ways. Most of the people here because of?
Professional development. They're here to be able to learn things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to learn. Obviously, tour the exhibit floor, interact with exhibitors that are talking about everything from other professional development opportunities through the higher ed community and manipulatives they can use right in the classroom with their students, everything in between.
There are thousands of educators here in Atlantic City for the convention, but we're finishing up 2015, moving into 2016. What would you say the top issues on the education/teacher educator docket would be?
Testing, I think, will continue to be a big issue going forward. We, of course, just saw the release of the very first PARCC results.
PARCC test results.
PARCC test results. The state has, I think, correctly indicated that, you know, that's a baseline. It's a starting point. And you know, we'll see where we go from there. The other important thing that they have done, though, is narrow the footprint of the test. They recognize that the invasive nature of the PARCC testing and all of the standardized testing going on in the schools is really squeezing out important instructional time. So they've scaled back PARCC from one window of testing down to two. The number of hours that students are taking the test. We now have to go forward and look at what schools and districts are doing individually with regard to their own standardized testing, trying again to contain it and not allow it to restrict instruction.
So is it, because I know Commissioner Hespy was here, David Hespy, the Commissioner of Education, has spoken here at the convention. Was it all pretty much about standardized tests?
It was very heavily focused on standardized testing. He did talk about a number of things going forward, including the issue of time. And he came back to this a lot. He said there are so many tensions, he used the word, in terms of the limited amount of time that we have to work with children in the schools. Testing is one element of that, but a lot of administrative burdens, the new evaluation system.
Evaluation of teachers.
Of teachers. And the system itself and how it's being implemented very paper heavy, very administrative, again, squeezing out instructional time. And so he got a lot of questions from our members about all those issues and acknowledged we need to figure out ways to maximize instructional time in the schools and not allow all these things to squeeze it out.
Let's do this. I've often said this on the air. I'll disclose the NJEA is in fact a major supporter and underwriter of public broadcasting and of our programming on public broadcasting.
Proudly.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it, but you're a major player in this state politically as well. The state of New Jersey just finished a significant legislative election where the lower house was up, the assembly. The NJEA was not only involved, but talked about a lot by the minority leader, Republican leader John Bramnick, as a major player that contributed millions of dollars to this race and influenced this race, where I believe 3, if not 4, is it? How many seats did the Republicans lose?
As we sit here right now, because there are some ballot counting activities going on, but 4, as we stand here now, 4 seats shifted from Republican to Democratic hands. Okay, and to be clear, we endorsed 3 of those candidates. One of the Democrats that won actually did not achieve our endorsement. It was an open choice.
Why was the NJEA so involved in this legislative election? What was at stake for you?
Well, I don't think it's
for your members.
I don't think it's unusual for us to be involved in any election, but what was really at stake this year, what our members told us loud and clear, is we want to support candidates for legislative office who will fund our pensions, who will meet the state's responsibility to fund their pensions. Our members have never missed a payment. Every paycheck that money comes out. Currently 7.2% of their salary. And I would ask any of the voters out there who probably have 401ks as their pension, if you had 7.2% of your salary coming out of every paycheck and found out that your employer failed to make their match in 12 of the last 20 years, wouldn't you be angry? And that's the anger that our members feel because the state has abrogated its responsibility. And so our legislators, who we supported, understand that and have pledged to work to meet that responsibility. And so, of course, we're going to support them.
But, Ed, I asked you this last time we sat down, and I'll ask you again. I'll repeat what the governor told me in December of 2014 in an interview on public broadcasting, the last time I got a chance to talk to him about this. He said, I would love to make that payment on behalf of the state. Quote, we don't have the money, you say?
That's not true. The last 2 state budgets that have been adopted by the legislature were balanced budgets, provided the funding for the full payments. The governor line item the funding, vetoed the revenue to provide it. So it's not a matter of whether it can be done. It's a matter of whether people want it to be done. It's a matter of priorities. And I'll be completely upfront. The revenue supporting some of that involved restoring the so-called millionaire's tax, which, of course, went away when the governor took office. So this is not a new tax. This is reinstituting an old one. It was scaling back a tax cut that, again, the governor provided to corporations in the state. So it's really a matter of choices here. Are we going to choose to support the economic security of 800,000 middle-class New Jerseyans who, again, work their whole lives, never missed a payment from their salaries into the pension, or are we going to support the interests of millionaires and corporations? And if those are the choices, we are always going to fight for middle-class New Jerseyans and our members.
How do you think it's going to be resolved in 2016, if it is, Ed?
Hard to say, really. One of the issues on the table is, do we need some type of a constitutional provision that actually compels the state to follow the law? So that's one.
Regardless of what the governor and legislature do, the voters would say fix it.
Exactly. The Supreme Court last June basically said, yes, public employees are entitled to the pension benefits they've earned. We can't compel the state to fund that based on the law. However, if the voters were to approve that, the state would be bound by that commitment. So that's
but only the voters, because Judge Jacobson, I believe, was the one who said, yes, you're supposed to do this, but we're not going to force you.
Right, and then the Supreme Court overturned that decision. So that was...
Isn't that confusing?
It's all very confusing, but that's part of the problem with this issue. It is not simple, and we continue to dig into the details of it, probably more than almost anybody else in the state, and to be in a position to propose solutions that we think will work.
Steve Adubato at the NJEA 2015 convention. We are honored, privileged to speak with Major General Charles Hooper, United States Army. Senior U.S. defense official at the United States Embassy in Cairo, Egypt. All of these things are very important to introduce you, but the other reason we're talking to you is that you're receiving the NJEA Award for Excellence here at the convention. And first of all, it is an honor to speak to you. General, thank you for your service to our country, but what does this award mean to you at this convention?
Well, it's an amazing award, Steve. Thank you so much. To be recognized out of all of the wonderful people, successful people, who have been educated by the New Jersey system, for me to be selected in this group of outstanding individuals is just a wonderful honor, and I'm very humbled and honored to receive this award.
Now, we were just talking, General and I were talking before he got on the air. He grew up in beautiful Willingboro, New Jersey?
The borough, absolutely. Absolutely. It was a wonderful childhood, a wonderful place to grow up, and I received an exceptional education in Willingboro.
Describe that.
It was inclusive, it was innovative. The teachers were also mentors. They were coaches, and not only coaches in the athletic sense, they were life coaches. And so they prepared you, gave you the confidence and the tools to excel. So when I left home, I went to West Point, I could compete with anybody in the country because of the exceptional education I got in Willingboro, New Jersey.
You say what about public school education? And I know it matters from town to town, and clearly there are challenges in certain communities. But you say what about public education?
Public education in the United States is the vehicle, the vessel. It is what lifts up the American dream. It is what gives each child the opportunity, particularly now in an information-based age, to rise above whatever their origins are, whatever their situation is. It gives them the knowledge to succeed, the confidence to succeed, and that's why public education in this country is so very important, Steve.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Barnabas Health, Oscar Health Insurance, New Jersey Sharing Network, United Airlines, Kessler Foundation, TD Bank, and by NJIT. Promotional support provided by Meadowlands Regional Chamber, building essential connections that drive business growth, and by Commerce Magazine. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Hello, I'm Mario Schlosser, CEO of Oscar Health. The Affordable Care Act was passed to increase the quality and the affordability of health insurance. All Americans now have access to health insurance, regardless of income, and must by law have proof of coverage or incur a tax penalty. So please be sure to sign up during this year's open enrollments. Visit www.healthcare.gov and find a plan that's working just right for you.